Welcome to my AP Art History Unit 8 Asia Review Part 2. So today we're going to be talking about Buddhism because that is a very important part of the Asia chapter. Alright, so this beautiful piece of art is called the Bamiyan Buddha, right? And so this was created in about 400 to 800 CE, and it was destroyed by the Taliban completely in 2001. You can see this kind of scratching off of the face here. In the 1900s, it was kind of scratched off by the people here, and the people that lived here are in Afghanistan. This was created in Afghanistan. And so in the 1900s, this face is scratched off, and in 2001, it was completely destroyed. So now there's just a hole in the wall without this figure here. And so this destruction of big religious icons is called iconoclasm. And so if you're ever asked to define iconoclasm, it's the destruction of religious icons, and this is a great example of that. So this is rock cut plaster, and the Bamiyan Buddha was an absolute massive 175 feet tall. Like, that's not just some tiny statue, that's massive. That's absolutely massive statue. So next, we're going to talk about the Longmen Caves. And so this is a Buddha in the Longmen Caves. This is in China and it was created during the Tang Dynasty. Here you can see a bit of that iconoclasm before without the little hand being there. But if you need a really good example, then this iconoclasm here is probably the best example you could give. But again, if you can't remember the other one, it was probably destroyed at some point, but we don't have an exact date here. So this Buddha statue was created around 9 or 493 to about 1127 CE, and it was made with limestone. That is kind of what this material is that is made out of. And again, you can see kind of the differences in the Buddhas here, just kind of how they're represented. And they mean different things. And so this one is called a Vairocana Buddha, and it's like a universal Buddha. It deals with everyone and everything. This guy is also a Bodhisattva, which is one of the teachers that kind of lets go of their path of enlightenment. Like in the Buddhist faith, people kind of have this goal to follow some path to get their own enlightenment. And so this guy is like, well, I'm gonna say screw that, but I'm gonna help others get their enlightenment so they can go to the good afterlife or whatever, so that they can have a good life. And so he's like, I'm gonna let go of my greatness so that even more people can have greatness, is what this guy does. That's a bodhisattva, right? So now we're going on to the Buddha in Japan. So this is called Todai-Ji in Japan. And so this is made in 1743 CE, and it was rebuilt in 1700. And so the actual structure itself, you can kind of see these wood beams and stuff, is made with bronze and wood. You can see some wood here and some like bronze in the actual thing. And then you can kind of see some ceramic tile for the roof, which is pretty cool. And you can kind of tell the difference in these and this Buddha and then the other one. Because this one is a lot more colorful with the gold and the green, a bit of blue down there. There's just a lot more vibrancy here. You get a little flower on his hand, and you can see the hand position here is different. This hand position that this Buddha is doing is a blessing. So the hand out is, for not just this religion, but for many religions, is very, it means a blessing. Right, so some key things to take away from this. You can kind of see these little doors here. There are three doors, and that is called a tripartite. So there's a tripartite gate at the front. It was made by people in the Kai school and the Kai brothers. And this Buddha is called a Daibutsu, which literally means big. Like, the Daibutsu means big, and that's the biggest thing you need to take away from this. And that is all of the kind of Buddha structures, but there's one more art piece related to Buddhism. We have this beautiful art piece, which is also from Japan, called Todai-Ji, which is, I'm sorry, Ryaon-Ji. Todachi-Ji is this one over here, which I guess my thing got messed up. But this one is called Ryaon-Ji in Kyoto, Japan. So this was made in 1480, and this is a rock garden. So this Ryaon-Ji thing is kind of like those little things you might have played with as a kid where you just put your finger in and you could just like draw patterns on it. Like it's kind of one of those things that you might have played with as a kid. And the idea is it's for meditation. So this is in Kyoto, Japan during the 15th to 18th century, and it is a rock garden. So there are these little rocks, these big rocks here, and then you have kind of like a tiny pebble which you kind of move your finger in. The tiny tiny you would move your finger in. And so they have these little moss things under the rocks. They have these really peaceful trees. And again, it's just for relaxation and meditation. And so the point of this meditation is it's dedicated to Zen Buddhism, and it's to teach sudden enlightenment. And Ryaon-Ji translates to Great Peaceful Dragon Temple. So it's supposed to be a very peaceful temple and calm your dragons. And so this garden represents the vastness of water and balance. So you can also kind of see that there are a bunch of these stones. There are a total of 15 of these big rocks, and there were originally 9, and then at some point they added 6 more, which is pretty cool. So I've touched on most of these things. There's 23 subtemples. This is the main thing you need to know for art history. This is where the actual like meditation stuff would take place. But again, that's not everything. There is a bit of other temples. And it is kind of best interpreted as islands floating in a sea. So these are like the islands, and this is just like a sea or an ocean. And again, it's just some rocks, some beautiful trees, kind of garden-esque thing. This is more for the elite, but it's still very important, this concept of meditation. So that was everything about Buddhism for Unit 8 of AP Art History.